We're back with a no running or walking challenge, and we have some unfinished business in Sonic Frontiers. We did our best in the main game, but there just so happens to be another story that we can attempt, and this time we have more characters available to us. If you didn't watch the first video, please do. The basics are no running, no walking, and I'll be playing on extreme difficulty, and trust me, that makes a massive difference in the final horizon. I'll cover what I can and can't do with the other characters when I get to them. Let's just start this already. The first section of this update involves you taking control of Amy, Knuckles and Tails to grab Chaos Emeralds. I'm gonna be honest, there's not much in these sections that can cause you much trouble. Both Amy and Knuckles can glide and Tails can fly. Add on the fact that there's a lot of easy to grab skill pieces to unlock skills which are even more useful in getting around, and you really don't have to worry about running or walking. I recommend unlocking the spin dash and the side loop related skills for everyone, since it helps with getting around a lot quicker, but more specifically, for Amy, I'd unlock the high card jump and the multi-lock, since these allow Amy a lot of variety in her movement. Knuckles, honestly, his gliding is enough to deal with his sections, but unlocking his punches is obviously helpful, along with the infinite glide because it's fun. The stomp's also useful. Picking skills for Tails is really easy, just unlock the cyclone boost and then you don't have to worry about anything. You can just fly everywhere. If you're wondering where you get the rings to activate the special skills, you can just use the spin dash and the side loop to get them. The natural abilities and skills of each character should be more than enough to get through all the challenges you need without running or walking. There's not much more I can say about them, to be honest. I think you knew going into this video that the main meat of it would be with Sonic. What are we doing with Sonic? We're climbing towers, and if you know anything about this update, these towers are pretty tricky. They definitely test your platforming skills much more than what the original game does. First though, we have to unlock the towers, and to do that we need Lookout Koco. You can get them from cyberspace levels, but you can get all the ones you need by side loop and dig spots, and that's what I did. Just for fun though, let's take a little look at the cyberspace levels anyway. There are 9 levels, but the only levels that don't have running starts are 4F, 4H and 4I. But 4I forces you onto a dash pad not long after the start. That leaves 4F and 4H as the only levels you can complete without running or walking. It's definitely possible to do, these stages are pretty open and the spin dash is really useful. 4F is pretty fun. 4I isn't. Granted, I always thought 4I was a bit awkward normally, but it's even more awkward here. And those animals? Don't bother, leave them. Like I said though, I didn't really bother with cyberspace since most of the levels aren't possible and there's more than enough Lookout Koco in the dig spots. With the Lookout Koco collected, we now focus our attention to the towers and completing the trials at the top. There's 5 overall, so let's get started with the first one. Spin dashing at the start skips the opening section, and rolling across these dash pads allows us to get past this bit without running. Most of this tower is just some cautious platforming until the very last part. It's a large ramp with some dash pads on it. Now it's pretty steep, so it can be quite difficult to get up without hitting the dash pads, so the best way to get past it was to spin dash off some of the previous platforms to make it to the rings and get to the top of the tower. The trial that awaits us is a bit annoying on extreme difficulty. These guys move really fast, and one hit means you gotta do it over again. It took a few attempts, but I found that spamming cross slashes did the job just fine. The second tower is very platformy, if that's a word. Using the bounce was really helpful for this. There are some sections higher up which want you to wall run, but you're able to jump up towards it to avoid the dash pads and slowly make it to the spring. The rest is just some patient platforming along with the smart spin dash at this point. The trial is pretty easy. Parry, be patient, don't die. Simple. The third tower is pretty much all wall climbing. No problems here. It's just a matter of avoiding any dash pads along with some smart air boosting onto walls. The trial is very easy. Parry them and it doesn't take much to put them down. Why the hell did they give you 5 minutes for this? Fourth tower, and I hate this one normally. However, it's all wind turbines and rails, and I can't run on these even if I tried. In a challenge like this is actually simple. The trial is also simple. It's just ninja. Yes, it's quicker, but you have all your skills, so it really isn't hard. You play as the other 3 characters after the first 4 towers, but it's more of the same thing as before, so it's best to move on to Sonic's 5th tower. Now this is an interesting one. A good mix of platforming, automated sections and obstacles. It can definitely be finicky. The spin dash is really powerful, a bit too powerful at times. Like I said though, there's also some automated sections on this tower, so we need to find a way around them. You first need to jump past the dash pads at the start. From there I played it safe since falling down here is really annoying, so I rolled slowly along the path until I could spin dash up to this spring. The other automated section at the end can be cleared in a similar method, but this time you spin dash straight to the top. At the top, we're met with the Master King Koco and his trial. If you don't know what it entails, you have to fight the first 3 titans in a row with no extra rings and perfect parry, which is a much shorter parry than usual. I am now going to remind you that I'm doing this challenge on extreme difficulty, where your perfect parry looks like this and you die in 1 hit. It shouldn't take a genius to understand that this is one of the most painful things I've ever done in a video game. I know this doesn't really apply to the challenge of no running or walking, but I experienced this nightmare, so I'm talking about it. I said pretty clearly in my separate video about this update that whilst I thought this trial was unfair, I actually enjoyed it on hard difficulty. It's safe to say I did not enjoy playing it here. This game is asking you to be perfect, and that is fine, but if you're going to do that, I expect the game to be perfect. I may like this game, but it is incredibly janky at times, and that leads to a ridiculous amount of frustration in this trial. Do you want to know how long I spent attempting this? 7 hours. I don't even think it would be that bad if they just cut out all the beginning sections of the Titans. Especially Wyvern, because that is just a waste of time. Speaking of this section of Wyvern though, you may remember that I said in the first video that this part was impossible to do without running or walking. Not long after I uploaded a video of that though, I received a comment from Invalid File showing me a skip of the section. Now I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how to do this and I didn't bother trying it during the Master Trial because I really just focused on finishing the thing, but I'm highlighting it here to show the possibility of completing this section without running or walking. Okay, let's get back to complaining about this trial. You can't imagine how disheartening it is to fail at this. One little mistimed parry and you have to do the whole thing over again. And the pain I felt when I got to Knight and messed up parrying the shield is incomparable to anything I have felt playing a video game. I persisted though, and since I spent so long trying to beat this, I'm walking you through how I did it. Giganto is relatively easy since you can avoid performing any parries. To start off with, I side-looped him to be able to cause much more damage than usual. After the first phase, Giganto does his laser attack, and fun fact, if he decides to fire off lasers at the same time as this, you lose. Real polished game here, guys. All you need to do after that is side-loop again, but Giganto attacks whilst in mid-air this time. If you spam parry as you go in mid-air, you can then boost to the left to avoid the attack and deal with the rest of his health. Another fun fact, sometimes after you side loop in the second phase, you'll hit the lasers on Giganto's back, which kills you, and you have no control over this, so you better hope you get lucky. Giganto is fine, but Wyvern is the absolute worst. You are required to pull off parries multiple times in this fight, including parrying missiles and many Wyvern attacks. I've got to be honest, I'm pretty good at parrying Wyvern's attacks. I've gotten used to the timing whilst playing this trial on hard difficulty. The problem is that there's so much more pressure here since one hit means you fail, and that can really mess with you mentally. The absolute worst thing here though is the missiles. These things are very unpredictable and they can very easily snipe you from off screen, giving you no chance to react to them. It does not compare to what happens at the start of the second phase though, because after parrying this first set of missiles, Wyvern fires off a second batch whilst you're preparing to parry his attacks. This is ridiculously unfair because it completely messes with your timing to parry attacks and they can easily hit you. This is very frustrating, and because of that I decided to be a bit unfair myself. It turns out that if you hold one of the bumpers during this fight, Sonic becomes invincible. Nothing can hurt him, so you don't have to worry about getting hit by the missiles and you can focus on parrying the attacks. It also felt like it made the parry window a bit more forgiving, but that might just be my mind playing tricks on me. I tried beating this without this trick, but I got so frustrated losing runs at Wyvern due to all the stupid things in this fight that I stopped caring. Since I have a pretty good grasp on the parry timings here, the fight wasn't that awful to beat after using the trick I mentioned earlier. Dealing damage to Wyvern is pretty simple, quick side looping allows your damage output to be much larger. I will say that I avoided side looping in the second phase since Wyvern normally broke out immediately, forcing you to parry an attack. If you did enough damage in the first phase, you should be able to do just enough damage in the second phase to get to the cutscene. Funnily enough, I didn't do enough damage in the completed run I did and needed to parry, but this actually helped since I could take off more damage before the cutscene. This meant I could take off the rest of the health after the scene without having to parry an attack. Knight is simple on paper, but there was a lot of pressure on me when I got to him. It doesn't help that I am really unfamiliar with the timing of Knight's attacks. What I did was chase Knight around trying to attack him at the start of the fight. If he tried attacking, I boosted away to dodge the attack. I kept attacking until he put up a shield. Once it's up, I pressed dodge to get around it and quick side loop Knight to deal my damage. That takes you to the second phase, and if you thought I was nervous before, you should have seen me at this point. You need to parry the shield first, and it's not that hard, but I still failed at times because of the pressure. As soon as you parry the shield into Knight, all it takes is another side loop to trap Knight to take off the rest of his health, and after 7 hours of attempts, I finally beat the Master King Koco trial. The only thing left to do is the Supreme and the end boss fight. The new one, that is. Supreme is easy. Extreme mode doesn't change that, but the end needs a bit more thought. We have the perfect parry again, but this fight is nowhere near as bad as the ones in the trial. The trick is to sever the cord straight away, then quick side loop the boss, followed by a manual side loop since trying to attack normally causes the Titan to push Sonic back. After side looping the second time, the end fires off projectiles you need to parry. After parrying them, you can spam attacks until the boss's health is gone. Then you need to side loop out the gun to start the second phase, which is pretty much the exact same as the first, albeit with this parry at the start of it. Do the same strategy with the side looping and the boss should go down pretty easy. Sonic does decide to fall through the ground though. I don't know why that happens. A couple quick time events and that completes the final horizon. Taking the Wyvern skip I highlighted earlier into account, this means that this story can be beaten without running or walking, and beyond that, the entirety of Sonic Frontiers can be beaten like this. Honestly, this challenge was really easy to do in the final horizon. Amy, Tails, and Knuckles have more than enough skills available to them which make their sections easy, and the towers in Sonic's sections were surprisingly normal. I really thought I'd be forced to do more wild things like I did in the main game, but the towers weren't that much different from a normal run. I've got to be honest with you guys, I really hesitated to make this video because the main difficulties of this run didn't come from avoiding running or walking. It came from playing on extreme, and even then it was pretty much only the master trial. It really doesn't deviate that much from a regular playthrough. I just hope this video wasn't underwhelming for all of you, because I couldn't really go that in-depth for most sections. I made this video mostly for the sake of completion, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm sorry if it wasn't exactly what you were looking for. If you do want to see a more in-depth look on this Frontiers update though, here's a video I made on it. It is a bit outdated because Sonic Team changed some things with updates, but it's still pretty much what I think of it. Have a good day everyone, and see ya.